Hey everyone, welcome back to Logical Magic Examining Esoterica. So today we are continuing a series of episodes about how to work better with the law of attraction to manifest more. The law of attraction, as I've gone over multiple times, has flaws in the way it is taught because it skips over a step that is essential for anybody trying to overcome generational trauma, generational curses, anyone who might be suffering from any form of mood disorder, emotional disorder. There's a way for you to use the law of attraction. You have to do your shadow side work, find your own coping tools, and put together your own emotional toolkit. And as I've said before, I did 2 full years worth of episodes. You can look back through the episode list. How to do all of that, how to cleanse your home, how to cleanse your psychic eye, the 7 spiritual energies, they're all out there. So I don't need to go over them again. Now we're moving into how do we apply this. So we're talking today about how to work with goddesses for better manifestations of abundance is really the easiest way to put that. If you have been, as most people are when they're trying to manifest something, they're usually trying to manifest abundance, prosperity, or love. And all of those things work best in conjunction with the feminine divine, also known as the goddess energy. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the specifics of different goddesses, but I want you to understand first that you do not need to be part of a continual ritualistic practice in order to access that goddess energy. One of the things to understand about when reaching for the divinity, there is really no such thing as cultural appropriation in divine circles, because these belief systems put a name to something that allows you to invoke and call forth that universal energy. So you go towards the stories that resonate most for you. If you're interested in the Greek gods and goddesses, then you would actually put out offerings or call to that particular energy, knowing that most of the wrathful energies or the punishing energies really were the superimposed beliefs of a overreaching power structure attempting to control the population through fear, guilt and fear. Everyone has access to the feminine divine and to the divine masculine. And in trying to manifest anything, what you're trying to do is create a new form of life, so you need the goddess energy. The very first thing to do in inviting more of the goddess energy into your home is to understand that there's something called the spirit of your home. I mean, keep going with this, but first I have to do the housekeeping. I forgot to do it entirely last week. You can find me to book me for a tarot card reading, a life coaching session, or to have a session on how do I manifest more at therisingmoon.com. It is the only way to book me. I will never approach you through any DMs, any messages. I will never ever try to sell you a reading. You have to come to me. This becomes important because literally everyone on social media who is a tarot card reader, any form of practitioner, has somebody pretending to be them. Don't fall for that. You have to come to me, and the only way to do that is at therisingmoon.com. You can also find all of the work that I've done beforehand in pick-a-cards, which can help you understand what you're trying to heal and some of the things that you're overcoming on YouTube at Cronecast at The Rising Moon. At The Rising Moon is all one word. And then I also have a Patreon that gives weekly and monthly spiritual and healing advice that is focusing more and more on how to manifest. So let's get back to that. All right, so we're talking about how to manifest more and how to wake the spirit of your home to help draw in the goddess energy. The first thing you're going to want to do is a full spiritual cleansing of your home. I have done full episodes on how to clear your psychic eye, but very briefly, what you want to do is you're going to clean every room of your house. And it does not mean I'm dusting, I'm cleaning, I'm vacuuming, although that is one way to clear your house. What you can do is in all 4 corners of a room and in the center, spray a smudging spray, use an incense, a Palo Santo or sage bundle in order to make what is called a 5-star fixing pattern, except you're making it in smoke or with a smudge spray to clear each room. In front of every mirror or portal, doorway, you're going to want to make the sign of an X and then the sign of a cross. So you're basically drawing an asterisk in the air. Go through your whole room, do the whole home, do that. Your house is cleared. I don't suggest using Palo Santo or sage. They are both endangered and they are integral to other belief systems, religious practices. Even though there is no such thing as cultural appropriation, the first thing we do when we are trying to interact with the ancestral world, the magical world, and the world of divinity is we respect resources and we respect the needs of others. In most magic practices, the idea that as long as you harm none, you can do what you want. That is harm none, as long as it harms none, do what you will, is essentially the tenet of most religions, most magical religions. Not all of them. Some of them are far darker than the things that I will be describing today. But today we are talking about how to invite that energy in. You do a full clearing, energetic, magical clearing. And then to move towards what invites this creative, nurturing, mothering energy in. And if you have generational trauma, if you have generational curses, which are essentially the same thing, and it comes from not bonding well with your parents, your caretakers, this is extra work that you may need to do in order to make the law of attraction function properly for you. You have a damage that is called the mother wound. You didn't do anything to deserve it, but you're trying to rehabilitate it. You're trying to restore that particular bond to the creative, feminine, universal energy. The first thing that you would do is clear, and then you want to wake the spirit of the home. And it quite simply is, what is the spirit of your home? Everything that shelters you, it does not have to belong to you, contains an actual energy, an actual presence. There is a presence everywhere, and it can travel with a person. You basically can call in your spirit of home. Everywhere I've lived, people have made the exact same comment to me, is it feels so good in here, because there's this very weird peaceful energy that has a tendency to follow me around. And it's gone from place to place to place. I've actually moved quite a bit in my life. I don't mind moving. I like change. But you can actually carry the spirit of home with you to work in conjunction with the existing spirit of home. So you call that in. You call out to your guides, your guardians, your ancestors, and your angels. I would like to wake the spirit of my home to protect me, to sustain me, and to provide for me with abundance and prosperity. And that's the easiest way to do it. That is the easiest way to do it. And then the way that you honor that spirit is to take care of your home. And it's not up to a standard of, would this look good on social media? You can have piles of clutter. You can have crowded closets. It's not a feng shui thing. It's not. What it is showing gratitude to the actual concept of being housed, of having shelter, regardless of whether or not you're living in the mansion of your dreams, or if you're like, I really don't like where I live. You still have shelter when many do not. And acting in from a place of gratitude for what you do have is how everything expands. Gratitude causes everything to expand. One of the ways that we express gratitude for having the basics covered is to honor our home by keeping it as clean as our time schedule and our mental health will allow, because certain mental health conditions can cause people to become overwhelmed. Anxiety, ADHD, depression can make small tasks seem absolutely daunting and exhaustive. So what you have to do is simply make a commitment to, I'm going to set aside 10 minutes a day, and I am going to have that be about wiping my kitchen counters, cleaning a sink, putting something away. That's all it takes. 10 is the number of complete cycles. Set a timer, and like a pile of clutter, dusting, whatever it might be, engage in some kind of home maintenance practice. And again, it can be as light as you want. It can be dusting and then spritzing with some, nice, please make it herbal or floral, home spray. Chemicals are not the world's best idea, but there are so many natural ones out there. Mrs. Myers actually makes a fantastic lavender room freshening spray that can double as a clearing spray if you're like, I don't want to make a spudge spray. As long as you can tolerate the smell of lavender, that functions as both, because lavender is actually one of the things that you can use to clear. You clear, you clean, and then what else can you do to invite the goddess energy in? First of all, get the information on goddesses. It can be Gaia, it can be Lakshmi, it can be Hathor. It's the goddess of abundance and fertility. In different belief systems, you'll be drawn towards the one that is right for you. I went into this in the ancestor episode. You have ancestors you do not remember on any level, and they may be spiritual ancestors versus ancestors of a bloodline. You will be drawn towards what is right for you. Please don't worry about the judgments of others. You're not taking on a full practice. practice, you are opening a door that is spiritual practice when we call on something over and over again with the same name. That is called an invocation. You are leaning into previously invoked energy when you call for a particular goddess. I typically work with Lakshmi and many of the goddesses from the Hindu religion. I am not a Hindu. I practice celestial and angelic magic, which it's a form of chaos magic. It's the great granddaddy of the current form of chaos magic. And celestial and angelic magic is an interesting form of magic. It cannot be used for baneful purposes, meaning that it's not meant to be about hurting other people, cursing them. There's only one form of curse in it. It's a karmic justice curse, also called the color purple curse, which can only be invoked when your true intent is to protect others. But for the most part, it is only used for healing, abundance, prosperity, and love, because love is the universal energy of the goddess. But it is not necessarily romantic love, and in fact, it is simply universal love, unconditional love. So when you think love, don't think, that date, that person, when am I getting married? Instead, think the universal love that if I possess it for myself in an unconditional fashion, I will be able to extend it towards others more easily. And that is your easiest, most direct tie to goddess energy. But you look up the goddesses that might appeal to you. I don't work in Egyptology at all, but Hathor is the abundance and prosperity goddess in that particular belief system. And why? I just don't feel called to it. You will know what is right for you and what is not. And please, again, don't think that you have to do everything in a rigid, planned out, ritualistic structure. In fact, part of the reason that this form of chaos magic that I practice works so well is not that it will cause chaos, but it is that it disrupts the energy around it and reforms in the shape that you tell it to. That is what my form of chaos magic will do. And there are different forms of chaos magic. I don't recommend some of the more like you paying no attention to the imbalances that you might strike. But celestial and angelic magic really only wakes up at its full strength and its full power when the entire reality or world is out of energetic balance, because celestial and angelic magic is meant to bring energetic balance back into an unbalanced state. And so it comes in and out of reality at a different strength as it is needed. I love it for right now. Clearly, you don't even need me to go into the number of ways in which we are living in an unbalanced energy in our current world. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of greed. There's a lot of divisiveness. There's a lot of rigid thinking. There's a lot of resistance to growing into new forms and shapes. There's a desire to go backwards, nothing will disrupt your energetic balance more than trying to inhabit a previous state that you have outgrown. So it causes some problems. But what you want to do is lean into, okay, I'm going to separate myself from the greater world energy and call this towards me. And my intent is the thing that is going to be working from. Your intent in whatever you do is the path that gets you through. It is why you do not need to worry about, but I'm not a practicing Hindu. Is it okay if I work with Lakshmi? Anything that you call towards, if you have pure intent. And pure, does that mean I'm not allowed to want anything for myself? No, it means that you're willing to give back in equal measure. Maintain an energetic balance and you'll be fine. You do not have to be some elevated, ridiculous unicorn of a human being in order to manifest what you want. But you do need to sometimes call in more and more potent and powerful energies when the greater world exists in such an energetic state of imbalance and you're trying to bring actual balance to yours. So you do the research to find which figurehead that you're calling to, and you don't worry about whether or not you practice every single part of a particular belief system. Remember, that belief system did not create, nor does it own that energy. It put a name to a universal energy that can be invoked. So you are using the invocation without needing to inhabit the ritual that goes along with a full religious practice. I am not somebody who believes in too much conformity, and any form of high-level chaos magic is actually a non-conforming energy. So that is the other reason that if you are truly in the know, I hear my own, I not only dance to the beat of my own drummer, I write the music and I sew the costumes. If you're that kind of person, if you're the, I don't care what everybody else is doing, I'm doing my own thing, then this approach works exceptionally well for you. And it doesn't matter what you're trying to manifest. If you're trying to manifest another person and it's a specific person, know that comes with a karmic debt because you were trying to interfere with another person's free will. Ask for your soulmate if you want romantic love. Try not to say John Smith, my soulmate. Even if you're positive John Smith is your soulmate, then if he really is your soulmate, then when you do that, I want my soulmate magic, then that's the person who will come towards you. And if by some instance like George Horton comes towards you instead, then it turns out it was George all along, and you're wasting all this energy on John. So that's kind of the way that not putting a name to something other than my best romantic pairing, my divine pairing, when you're trying to manifest love. And the goddess energy can help you do that as well. You do the research, and then here's what you do on a regular basis. You sit and you simply align yourself with the universal energy. And how do you do that? Standing on solid ground. You simply imagine divine light coming down through your chakra points, hitting your crown chakra first, hitting your third eye, throat, etc. I like to see the corresponding color light up. I call to the archangels that are associated with those different chakra points. I will cover them very quickly. The crown chakra is Uriel. The third eye chakra is Metatron. The throat chakra is Gabriel. The heart chakra is Raphael. The solar plexus is Shamuel. The sacral is Ariel, and the root is the archangel Michael. If you are not comfortable with goddesses, work with the archangel Raphael, who is the archangel associated with your heart chakra. And that's the other thing that you can do to amplify your goddess energy, is do lots and lots of heart chakra meditations. Have the heart chakra healing meditations playing in the background, chakra vibrations, inner lotus healing music, meditative mind, Taoist wind spirit. All of these are channels that I recommend. They're all free on YouTube. We live in a tremendous time of having many, many free resources available to us. If you are trying to do some form of manifestation, remember an energy exchange is important. You need to stop and hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment. If you're able to donate to other people's endeavors, then please do so. You're giving back when you're receiving. There is this energy exchange of give and receive, give and receive. That maintains balance. You're trying to maintain balance in anything that you do. And then what else can you do? You can do a simple offering. It does not need to be on an altar. I have an altar in my home, but I do this for a living, so that makes a lot of sense. You do not have to have an altar. What you can is have a space on a bookshelf where you put maybe a cup of coffee, a flower, something that is, you simply hold something. Dominant hand is your charging hand. In your dominant hand, say, I bless, empower, and activate this. I happen to be holding a glass of water. Glass of water for the goddess energy. I ask that you charge it with the energy of abundance for me. If you're using water, you can actually ingest that afterwards to make it a part of you. Now, if you're using food, you're not supposed to. That is the energy that you're giving. This is the energy that you're asking to receive from. You can receive through water. I really encourage people not to be too paranoid about, like, oh, if it's been sitting out for 6 hours or on overnight on an altar, do you really want me to drink it? Yeah, it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you. But some people are very, very germ phobic. You can put a covering over it. It's not that big a deal. It doesn't need to have access to the air to have access to the energy. I always leave it open. Simply because I do have a form of OCD that is born from trauma. It's not a severe form, but I have to be careful about not being too germphobic, not being too cautious. Not taking risks is an important part of creating new things as well. So you can leave an offering. Flowers are great. They love, 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 love flowers. Anything beautiful that then is self-propagating is also a thing. Remember, flowers draw to them, bees and things that then help pollinate. Flowers are a great source. Anything with honey can be as well, because it shows the hard work of a hive, resulting in sweetness and richness. So you can do a piece of bread with some butter and honey on it. And you don't have to do offerings though. You can do offerings of energy. You can put on goddess mantras or heart chakra healing frequencies, and you can simply dance in a flowing fashion. Anything that puts you into the flow of a particular energy. And how long? 10 minutes is the minimum. Do 10 minutes minimum. 30 minutes is more about personal power. 60 minutes would be more about balance. And then something like 90 minutes, if you want to fall asleep to these things so that it is implanted into your subconscious mind, is the number 9. So you would do 90 minutes. Most devices have timers on them you can program to shut off. That's what I do with my TV. It has a timer on it, and I just have the YouTube app on it. And I play these things as I go to sleep, because your subconscious mind is the thing that is actually holding you back and what you're trying to manifest. And particularly if the belief that we cannot manifest something if we think we aren't worthy is both right and wrong. If you do not believe you deserve something, it will have a much harder time coming to you. It will have to approach you from many different angles. But the divine knows you better than you know yourself and loves you unconditionally. So it's not as blocking an energy as you might think. But you can increase the rapidity of the manifestations by connecting yourself to that divine source love. So all of these things, and do things like watching, beautiful movies about romance, does that help? Sure, but it often engenders a feeling of jealousy, or a feeling of, if not bitterness, regret for some people, because very few people get that much of a, storied love story handed to them. So it really works better to work with nature. Anything having to do with nature is another thing that can help connect you to it, because nature is self-renewing and it has cycles. You're wanting to lean into the cycles of birth and death, because whenever we are trying to create a new state of being, we're trying to release an older state of being. So get comfortable with the idea that death is not a scary, terrible thing. It doesn't mean we're supposed to run towards it gladly. It's just that we have an excessive fear of the idea of people dying. And to the extent that many people won't even use the word dying any longer. Somebody didn't die, they passed. I take no issue with that. I just don't happen to participate in that, because I do not fear the concept of death nor the word. I am allied with, I have done over a year's worth of work with Kali in Hinduism. Kali is the goddess of destruction, of death, and time. And that was interesting work. If you're working with Kali to help banish generational curses, generational attachments, that's what I would recommend. I don't recommend working with Kali after dark when you're trying to bring about a better balance in your light. So that's I don't do offerings to Kali at night. I don't do mantras to Kali at night. If you wanted to, if you're still trying to clear your energy in your life, I cleared my home, but I still have persistent depression, anxiety, do some work with either Black Tara or Kali. And I really do suggest that it is done during the daylight hours. We are shifting in the United States more towards the spring and summer balance. There'll be more time for daylight. It does actually leave time for people to do their work when they get home from work. And does that mean you have to extinguish it promptly when there is no light in the sky? I will be honest, I usually do, but I have done things like exorcisms and all sorts of things, so I make sure to close those doors pretty firmly. You likely don't have to. If you're still trying to clear away bad luck, recurrent problems with depression, anxiety, any of the things that can involve also spirit attachment, as well as a chemical imbalance in your brain, work with a clearing goddess like Kali or Black Tara. All of these things are on YouTube. Just put them in the search engine, listen to them, perform some cleaning. It is a good idea to speak your truth to whatever you are trying to invoke. Do so respectfully. They didn't do a lot to you and you're asking for their help. So you can explain why something is bothering you. Like, this feels very unfair. And you can explain that, but understand that what you're inviting in didn't do that to you. It is the thing that you're trying to invite in to help you alleviate the problem. So as you explain it to this particular energy or spirit, keep that in mind. Universal energies are actually very forgiving. They understand our plight a lot better than we do. So if you're still working with that stuff, expect maybe a year of having to do that if you've had long-term issues with addiction in your family line, generational poverty, depression, anxiety, failure to thrive, energies like that. You may have to do a full year's worth of clearing work. And if a part of you balks at the thought of a year, that's too long, dude, it's not going to happen until you do the work, because you have an ancient ancestral energy following you. And you're going to be a year older in a year anyway. So you might as well get some work done and feel better and better over the course of that year. And then when you get it done, that's when you begin the new beginning energies of the goddesses of prosperity and abundance, like Lakshmi, like Hathor. Persephone is another one, although she was married to Hades in Greek mythology. It was actually her mother Demeter who was the goddess of harvest and abundance. So you can work with that as well, and that ties you even more to the feminine divine. The feminine divine is necessary for manifestation, because it is the birth of something new. And particularly people who have difficult relationships with their parents, with their mothers, can struggle with having a strong association with it, because you might not trust it entirely. If you grew up with a punishing mom, I did. My mother was hypercritical. She would pick on me to make herself feel better. Like she just wasn't a well woman. And I've really forgiven her for that. Like it wasn't, I don't think she ever understood that she's mentally ill. I don't think she ever understood that. She was more or less functional in every external way, and just didn't understand that her deep unhappiness that she used to lash out at others with was actually a symptom of long-term mental illness in a generational line. She didn't get that part. So I forgive her entirely. I genuinely do. I can't have her in my life, but I forgive her entirely. Having made peace with that, I then had to take steps to invite the healthy form of that energy in. So if you too have suffered from this mother wound, this lack of having that nurturing energy, that creative force within your life that was solely positive, then you take these steps to engender it and to increase it. And how quickly can you expect these things? Expect everything to work best when given a full calendar year of work. And again, people who are like, but I want it right now, I have a need right now. Once you begin working with it, one of the things that you can talk about to this energy, because having a dialogue, asking for what you want, you light the candle. If you're lighting candles, you don't have to. I always do. I always work with fire, because it destroys, and then what it destroys, there's something new born from it. So it consumes one energy and puts out another. Like, it's one of the easiest, most symbolic things to do. So I use candles for that. You light a candle and you can write a petition. There are instructions all over YouTube on how to write a petition. And why do I do things like that? Why do I say go to YouTube and look? If you want magical power, you have to put the groundwork in yourself. You can't just ask somebody else to, well, do it for me. How do I do this? Explain it to me, instruct me. You have to be willing to gather the information, to assemble your own toolkit as often as possible. It's part of the reason that cafeteria style practices have a tendency to yield better results, because it is a person inviting in their own relationship to power rather than relying on the existing power of a particular power structure, like a religion, like a teacher, like a mentor. We have to have mentors, we have to have teachers, but what we really are doing is gathering the knowledge for us to put together the series of actions and tools that will make us our most powerful. So that is why in Real Magic Instruction, you are frequently told, go do your own work. Go do your own work, and it's not because you're not cared about, it's because you have to be comfortable with making your own decisions, deciding what is right for you. You have to be comfortable with the idea that the power is yours. Limiting beliefs, blocking out manifestations are a real thing. And if you do not believe in your own ability to look for and find the correct answers without somebody spoon feeding it to you, you do not truly believe you are powerful. You think you need guidance step by step. So that is part of the reason that you will hear me say, go to YouTube and look up how to make a petition. Now, I have a magic playlist on YouTube that will teach you all of these basics. If you want to hit that up, it is on YouTube. And it's literally called, I believe, Learn Magic. And it has some low-level curse breaker things in there, because not everybody can afford to pay somebody to break a curse. And that'll help you alleviate and peel off that energy layer by layer. It may take more than once, but you will feel a shifting and a difference in the energy. So in the goddess energy, what you're really looking for is, part of the reason that the feminine divine is so powerful is that we're not talking about biological function when we talk about a woman's ability to create life within her own body. We do. We create separate life within our bodies. If you identify as a woman, if you were born as a woman, if you have the biological functions of somebody with a uterus, then you have the ability to create life within your own body, barring something going wrong with that particular system, which does not, by the way, preclude you from creating magically. Whether or not your bits and parts function super duper well has nothing to do with whether or not you can create more magically. And in fact, you may find that you can create better because you were denied the earthly manifestation of that in the form of creating a separate 3D life. You are very likely to find that if you reach for the goddess energy, it's like, no, we have a consolation prize for you. You can actually do more. You can be a very, very powerful person. So don't think whether or not your parts or whether or not you have a uterus is the only thing that determines whether or not you can create. Because some people know within their heart, despite whatever biological sex their physical body is manifesting, that it's like, no, in my spirit, in my heart, I am a woman, I am a female, I have the gender identification of somebody who wishes to give birth, to nurture, to guide this caretaking energy. It is not dependent on biological sex. And that is all I have to say about that. I know that like some people want to have a great big debate about it. I'm not open to that debate. I'm talking about magical energies, and it just is magically true, and I believe it to be universally true. And if you believe something different, it doesn't mean you can't use the things that I am teaching you. It's just saying that it is a waste of both of our energies to try and engage in any form of discourse on this, because I know this to be a universal truth, that people who believe that they have the creative spark within them do, and they can reach for the goddess energy, and that creative spark will be amplified. And that is what reaching for the goddess energy does for you. And again, you research it, light a candle if you wish to, you can put simple offerings out, you can make things. If you think, I am really deeply uncomfortable with altars, with rituals, with speaking aloud, you put on a heart chakra meditation or one of the goddess meditations, again, all over YouTube. Eternal Hindu Prayer is the one that I've been using a lot, and I really, really like them because they're a largely untapped source right now. It's a fairly young and new channel with fewer than 1,000 followers, so it's a very fresh energy, and it can help refresh your energy, which is not to say the giant established ones are, you know, like they're bunk, they don't do anything. It's just that it's a pure source. It can be a little bit chaotic in the way that it manifests, but again, the form of magic that I do is a form of chaos magic because it invites fundamental and complete change. Is there anything else we need to discuss? Everybody wants to know about money. And how do you do something with money? I'm going to tell you the very simplest form of money magic involving a goddess, and it will need two ingredients. It will need water, and it will need chia seeds. Chia seeds are available if you're in the United States at Trader Joe's for very little money indeed, but they are all over. Almost every store has them now because they've been recognized as an excellent source of minerals and of omegas. And so what I do is I bless, empower, and activate that water. I leave it on my altar where there is an altar. Remember, I do more than you guys, so whenever I'm describing what I do, you do not need to emulate me. I do a lot more than other people would need to. You bless, empower, and activate this water. You leave it out overnight. In the morning, you get up, you take about 2 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons, I beg your pardon, of chia seeds, put it in a glass, and use that water, stir it in there, let it hydrate it, and then drink it. Soaked chia seeds are great for your hair, for your skin. They have vitamin E, they have all kinds of things. It's a very grounding influence. It is also one of the ways that you can expand something that will then be imbued with the energy of this charged water to then be thoroughly processed through your system in a way that water simply is not. Now, is it a little bit chunky and weird? And it's like, yeah, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. If you have a big old gag reflex, it's not going to work for you, but it does not bother me. And I really would suggest trying to get over things like that, where it's like, well, that I did it a little bit at a time. I used just a little tiny bit as I started, like start with a teaspoon in that glass of water, and you won't even notice it. And why does it need time to plump up? Because again, you are trying to make sure that the seeds that you're ingesting that will then be digested all the way through. Seeds, anything with seeds, are talking about it is the way something multiplies. Grains of rice and different seeds. So pomegranates can work as well, particularly many of the goddesses are depicted because it is one of the symbols of abundance and fertility with pomegranates. So you can also instead use pomegranate seeds if you're like, I would hate the idea of drinking engorged chia seeds, then go ahead and do it with pomegranate seeds instead. It doesn't work as well. It doesn't work as well because chia seeds go from a completely dehydrated state to being imbued with that particular water, whereas pomegranate seeds don't lose they're not dehydrated at the same level, so they don't absorb as much. But that is the easiest form of money magic. That's the easiest. You bless, empower, and activate that water for prosperity and abundance. Add in there, I need more funds in my life. I need more money flow. And you leave it, and all of this takes patience. Take it with some form of seed the next day, which implies multiplication of an energy. And if something has mass in it, it goes through a different digestive process within you. So that any water that you drink, by the way, goes all the way through your red blood cells. Like any water that you are frankly urinating out has been through your blood as well as your blood organs, like things like your kidneys and bladder, which gets a little bit like, well, that's gross, but it's also true. You're trying to get an energetic flow going through you that is in your command, and it will take time. And I always need people to understand that your guides will not allow you to manifest things to forego your healing. Because if you are not healed when you manifest something, you do not retain it. It doesn't stay in your life. Or it causes a weird shifting of balance in another area where somebody was like, I manifested my dream home, my dream job, and then I got divorced out of nowhere. Like that's the type of stuff that will happen if people have not done their healing work. So they're not denying you. They're trying to help you keep what you have. And you do that and you wait and you see, and it'll start small. It'll start small with things like, hey, I got this particular bill and it was surprisingly $25 less than I thought it was going to be. And it's been that, like, it'll be that type of thing. You'll notice small signs at first, and then it will continue to build just as the seeds are sown throughout your life and begin to grow. This is the easiest form of money and abundance magic that you can do. I am always trying to find a way to help people who are not involved, because my whole life is about this stuff, but not everybody has the time, interest, or connection that I do to this particular energy. And so we're always trying to give it how do you get the best results from the smallest output of energy and the least, I almost want to say, draining of your natural resources in your life, because time is a precious commodity for most people in a world where we're too busy. If all of this, you're like, that sounds interesting, I don't want to do any of the stuff with water and seeds and invocations and talking to things, what else can I possibly do? You can study, you can read. It puts it into your subconscious as well. You can study, and will it work as well? No, it won't work as well, but it works better than nothing. If you're stuck in the law of attraction not working for you, I've done the visualizations, I've done the scripting, I've done that. It means you need to add in something else because you're facing a long-term generational energy that you need to overcome and bring into balance in order for you to be able to manifest from your balanced state. And the easiest way to do that is with goddesses. So this has been how to use goddesses within the law of attraction to help manifest more. I particularly focused on money because people are so worried about money. But you can use it for almost anything. If you want to see, I'm always focusing on, like, people need more food. So it's part of the reason that a lot of the advice I give about the maintaining your energetic balance goes towards, please give towards food banks. But the other thing is that part of the reason I make a sacrifice of food or an offering, because an offering is a sacrifice to the things that I work with, is to put that energy out into the world. Put that energy out into the world. And I have one other thing to tell you about food offerings that is important. I covered this in the Ancestral one. I make almost everything from scratch so that my personal energy is imbued in things. I know what's in it. I don't have to worry about preservatives or chemicals. I don't eat meat. Everything that I do has a lot of my personal energy in it. When you give something as an offering, if you've baked the bread, if you've made the cake, if you slice up the apple and drizzle it with honey and cinnamon, which is one of the abundance offerings, because apples are a seeded fruit, even if they're not heavily seeded, they also work for abundance magic. Once you give that to something, and you also are meant to have some of it yourself, by the way, so that you share in this energy. This is part of me now as well. I'm inviting this in. Every time you have that same dish, that same energy, you can focus on it for a moment and call back that energetic magic in, because you have given it into the immaterial form. And it does not have to be perfect. It simply has to be a sacrifice of your personal energy. It's why buying something doesn't work as well as making something. Well, buying something, yes, it's an energy exchange of your money. But anything that you put your creative energy into, you're trying to create something more. When you're trying to do any form of prosperity or abundance magic, it will work out that little bit better. And if you don't want to do anything else, study about it. But I really would suggest doing the water thing, and then wait and see. Wait 2 weeks, which is usually the length of a moon cycle of either the new moon or the full moon, so the waxing or the waning moon, and see what happens. See what happens. If absolutely nothing happens, then maybe it's not the right answer for you. But something small should happen to encourage you. The universe is always talking back to you when you're doing these things, okay? So that was Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica, Working with Goddesses to Increase the Law of Abundance. Thank you so much for joining me. If you need to find me, you can find me at therisingmoon.com to book me for a tarot card reading or a life coaching session. The video versions of these go up on my YouTube, which is Chromecast at the Rising Moon. And then I also have a Patreon. And I have one more funny thing to share with anybody who's still here. Last week, I realized that YouTube was processing the video for my podcast at a high definition HD. And I was like, oh, that's weird, because YouTube is not, or I'm sorry, Zoom, which is what I record these on, is not actually in high definition. And so I checked out the results, and it was really, really weird, but I had a patch on my face that kept looking silver where the light caught it. And the weirdest thing was, I was like, did I use highlighter or something? I didn't use highlighter. I have no idea what is causing that bounce back on my face. Like, I didn't even have a foundation that day. I think I was wearing eye makeup, and that was it, so that I don't disappear on camera. Today, I did actually go ahead and put on some foundation to make sure that in case it processes in HD again. I guess the only reason I'm bringing this up is if I look silver to you, I have not painted myself in silver. Every now and then I turn my head, and the high definition processing caused it to make me look like I was made out of silver on multiple occasions. It was really strange. I sat there fast forwarding through it going, what is that on my face? So if it happens again, I have not painted myself with silver face paint. It is the light catching me in some weird manner. Maybe it's something magic winking at us. I don't know. Take care. Be well. See you guys next time.